taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. So make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Before I get back to the phone calls, a couple of things that I wanted to get into. Number one, let's get into the NBA Finals for a second here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll make my prediction Thursday, but I'm here to tell you something right now. I misspoke. And I misspoke when the Toronto Raptors closed out the Milwaukee Bucks Saturday night, and I talked about how enjoy it while you can, because the Toronto Raptors, I mean, there ain't going to be no celebrating this next round. I go back, I watch tapes, I watch how they play, I see the things that have transpired, and I got to tell you something. I don't believe this series is going to be a cakewalk. I believe that the Toronto Raptors have a legitimate shot to win this series. The Toronto Raptors are no joke. Kawhi Leonard is a superstar in this game. He is extraordinary because he may be devoid of splash, but boy, I mean, he's like a miniature clone of Tim Duncan. Just gets it done on both ends of the floor. Model of consistency. No histrionics, gyrations, or anything of the sort. He just does the job. That's what Kawhi Leonard does. He's just on that kind of level. And I think that it's important to recognize that. It's important to recognize the fact that without the services of Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard gets to preoccupy his attention on somebody else. Now, that has to be Klay Thompson or Steph Curry. I mean, Kawhi Leonard is a shutdown defender. And if you take away one of those components, it raises the pressure on the other exponentially. So if you're defending Steph Curry and you do it successfully, then you got a situation where you got to deal with Klay. If you defend Klay and you do it successfully, then you got a situation where you got to deal with Steph Curry. And if Kawhi Leonard somehow, some way is able to neutralize folks in that regard, we got a problem. Because we don't know if KD's going to be back at all. That's why it's so important that Boogie Cousins gets back, because we know Boogie Cousins can average 20 and 10 in his sleep. And you need a formidable offensive component for the Golden State Warriors. Now, I will say this. Once upon a time, I wasn't sold on Golden State's bench. I will say that. And then all of a sudden, what happened is Kevon Looney, Jordan Bell, Alfonso McKinney, Quinn Cook, you see these guys and how they perform. And you say, you know what? Got to tell you something. These brothers come off the bench and they produce. Got to give credit where credit is due. Got to give credit where credit is due. That's what's going on here with the Golden State Warriors. They're deeper than we thought they were. And so it's going to be real interesting to see. And we pray beyond prayer that Kevin Durant will come back. I thought it was Achilles injury when it first went down. They say it's a calf. You want to believe him, but you still hear that he's not available for games 1, probably game 2. But you're hoping beyond hope and prayer that he's going to be available for game 3. KD come back. If KD's at 80%, as far as I'm concerned, they still win this series. But without that, you just don't know what the hell's going on. And so I'm looking at it from that perspective, and I'm saying Golden State has its work cut out for them. There is no doubt about that. They can still win this series, but the Raptors are no joke. They play big-time defense. They've got athletes. They're long. They can defend. They can shut down the interior, which means that the Golden State Warriors will have two components, which is both their specialty, by the way, but they'll have two components that they really need to capitalize off of in this series. A, their perimeter shooting, and B, fast breaks, up tempo. That's what they have to do. You got to do whatever it takes to get Kawhi Leonard off the floor. You can't have Kawhi Leonard vibrant for 40-plus minutes. You got to get him tired and get him off the floor. That's what you're going to have to do. And Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are going to have to hit perimeter shots. Steph Curry's coming off of averaging 36.5 for the sweep series in the Western Conference Finals against the Portland Trailblazers. He was absolutely sensational. He plays like that, lights out. But if he doesn't, and Kawhi Leonard plays like that, Lord have mercy. We don't know what's going to happen, but we can't rule out Toronto. I'm telling you that right now. Just can't do it. Just can't do it. We can slice it any way we want to. Can't do it. Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet. VanVleet, since his kid was born, over the last 3 games of the series, he's shooting 82% from three-point range. 14 to 17 threes he's hit. VanVleet has been sensational. And Kyle Lowry has played pretty damn good, averaging nearly 20 and 5. And shooting a good percentage from the field. VanVleet for the series is shooting 57% from three-point range. So that kind of production off the bench does not hurt. Norman Powell cannot be underestimated. He's a gunslinger. He's very aggressive. And if you're the Golden State Warriors, you're going to have to respond the way you did against Portland. So that is where we are. This series is going to be very interesting. I'm not going to make any predictions until Thursday, but I can tell you this. I think the series is going at least 6 games. At least 6 games. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. A game 6 will be in Golden State. A game 7 will be back in Toronto. Which to me, if you're if you're Golden State, that means you need to win this series in 6. Because you don't want to be in Toronto for game 7. Not with that crowd. Not with that. The Canadians there, the country. My Lord. It's going to be real interesting to see what's going to happen in free agency with the Clippers, the Lakers, and beyond when it comes to Kawhi Leonard. Because I got to tell you something. Toronto is a fabulous city. It's got everything. And I mean everything. And when you look at it from that perspective, please understand that if they have everything, with the exception of warm weather in the winter times, and Kawhi Leonard, is deified in that nation. This is the first time in the NBA Finals. Vince Carter couldn't take him there. Tracy McGrady couldn't take him there. DeMar DeRozan obviously could not. When you look at the Toronto Raptors, let me tell you something. If you're the Toronto Raptors, Kawhi Leonard just got y'all to the NBA Finals. He can do no wrong. He passed gas. They'll call it perfume. Kawhi and Don, restaurants offering him free food for life. That's what he's dealing with in Toronto. And it ain't just the city. It's the entire country, Canada. I'm just telling you what I know. When you look at Kawhi Leonard right now, it is something to behold. He's got a good situation there. He's got a really good situation there in Canada. Why leave? Because as great as I think the Clippers are in terms of how they've elevated their brand and their franchise, other than the warm Southern California weather, which is a very significant thing, by the way, and near where Kawhi Leonard grew up, what do you have to offer that Messiah Toronto don't have to offer? Their franchise is winning. The Eastern Conference is weaker. The road to prosperity, therefore, would be easier. And you don't have to compete with LeBron in L.A. for L.A.'s love. And by the way, the love of L.A. ain't nothing compared to, I shouldn't say it's nothing compared, but does it compare to the love of a nation that is Canada? I'm just asking. Canada's a country in the northern part of North America. It's a country. It's the only team in the country. The only NBA team in the country. Do you have any idea what Kawhi Leonard is going to have at his disposal if he pulls this off? You have any idea? They'll erect a statue for him outside of the Scotiabank Arena tomorrow. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And Steph Curry, there's no Kevin Durant for at least the first couple of games, I believe. Perfect opportunity for Steph Curry to step up in a fashion that some would say he hasn't during NBA Finals play, where he'll have an opportunity to finally capture an NBA Finals MVP honor. Will he accept that challenge and embrace it? We'll find out. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Again, you are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. The other thing that I want to get to before I went back to the calls was Rich Paul, agent for LeBron James, the boss of Clutch Sports, also friend of LeBron James, Rich Paul. He was mentioned in this article by Baxter Holmes as well. Excessive privileges, riding on a team plane, things along that nature. I spoke to Chris Paul this morning. He said, Stephen A., I rode on a team plane one time. They offered me a ride back from an East Coast trip back out west because he lives in California. He said that was it. Other agents, other people, friends and beyond have flown on team planes before. I was respectful. I ain't talked to any of the players. Wasn't recruiting any players. When players come up to him and talk to him, you know, he's not sitting there trying to steal somebody's clients. He's had agents who suspected he was trying to do such a thing. He denied any such thing. But he does go about the business of building